It's completely serendipitous. The nice little lens flare I got. There's a lamppost right outside my window, and somehow I managed to just tilt it to get the right thing. Or maybe I put it in digitally. Who knows? And actually, to be honest, normally what I like to do is I like to throw my galaxy light on in the background and have that weird twinkle star effect. And I don't know. I think now that I'm looking at this, which was just incidental, I just took the lens cap off and I just had the light on in the bathroom, and I think it looks quite nice. So maybe I should experiment more with different lighting setups and such. But yeah, welcome to whatever episode of the Decompression Chamber this is. I know it's season 2. I'm your host, Mario, so thank you for joining me. And yeah, so I'm going to get started with our opening quote, and it's going to be from the Dalai Lama. I'm paraphrasing here, so it's not exactly a quote, because I read it on my phone ages ago. But the quote goes something like, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito in the room. Roll the intro.
The meat of my steamer is broke. For the bleacher.
Yeah, so repeat viewers will know that when I take a sip from my drink, it's because I don't know what to say. And I'm a man of many words, as this podcast hopefully shows, but sometimes there are no words to be said. But yeah, no, I quite like that quote because, I don't know, sometimes I make myself feel less significant than maybe I am, or maybe I feel comfortable in my own mind telling myself that that I'm not like a hugely important person, and to whom and in what context, those questions are good and relevant. But sometimes I feel the start part of that without context, without explanation, and yeah, it's just one of those interesting things, you know. I mean, I feel like everybody has this, but I only know it for myself. There's that constant, you know, internal dialogue, internal monologue. Thing is, I would classify it more as an internal dialogue than monologue, because I feel like, just like the thought that I was just telling you about, I feel like there's stuff that I think that doesn't really feel like I thought it, you know, or maybe my perception of myself. It feels like an intrusive thought, or some sort of thought that has risen up, rather than me kind of putting time into thinking and developing it, you know. I guess there's certain things that I'm like happy with myself to have thought, and there's certain things where I'm like unhappy or ashamed, or like, you know, everybody has that kind of stuff. You you get caught in the wrong moment, you know. You get caught in the wrong emotion, and you can, even if you don't act on it or you don't do anything about it, you might think something that makes you go, oh, I didn't know I felt that way, or I didn't know I'm not happy that's where my mind went, you know. But yeah, so I'm constantly dealing with this internal dialogue with myself, you know. And for me, a lot of it is about how I feel about myself, about how I feel about my relationships in my life, or what I'm doing with myself, how I spend the time during the day. And it's like, I've come to realize recently that I hold myself to different standards than the people around me. Sometimes I put higher standards, and sometimes I put lower standards, and that varies on the situation. But you know, you just kind of have to be aware of it and see whether that information is something that can help you, or whether that's something to watch out for in case it can hurt you, you know. Yeah, like, sometimes I do put unnecessarily high standards on myself, and I don't allow myself to just be, you know. And sometimes I make allowances for myself that I wouldn't others, you know. If someone outside of your own locus of control does something that you don't like, it's very easy to point at them and go, well, that I wouldn't do that, or that's not okay to me, or, you know, those kind of ideas. Whereas in reality, if you were to do that same misdoing, or if I was to do that same misdoing, should I say, I'd be more likely to forgive myself at times, depending on the scenario and the context, because I understand my own rationale, I understand how I got there, And it's not to say that I'm not an understanding person, because I feel like I am, but I feel like I'm often more understanding to myself than I am to others, you know. There's no benefit of the doubt to give, because there is no doubt when it's yourself or whatever, you know. But yeah, truthfully, the reason why this stuff's been on my mind today is because I went out, great gig, Alfie, I hope you're watching, his band like headlined a place called the Joiners in Southampton. It was real cool, and then we went out like clubbing afterwards, and that was pretty cool. But the sleep deprivation that ensued a night out like that, I feel like has played merry a little bit on my mental health. This will be interesting to see what the audience thinks, but for me, I think that the very, very, very foundation of me feeling stable mentally is consistent, regular, high quality sleep, you know. And I'm not saying that to preach. I just mean to say that when I know that I'm not doing that for myself, when I'm not consistent, things become unstable a little bit more quickly, you know. It's harder to keep the habits that I want to keep, or do the things that I want to do, or, you know, necessarily keep myself disciplined in a way. I mean, yeah, I mean, I struggle with the self-discipline thing anyway, but I just mean to say, like when you're constantly fatigued, all of those decisions become a little bit more difficult. All those things that you took for granted, you now no longer take for granted, or try not to, you know. Like every day I try to do this every day, write 10 things I'm grateful for and about anything in my life, and 10 things that I love about myself, because I find that it makes me happier, and for a while I hadn't been doing that, like, not at all, and it's just about getting started again, you know. And on days like today, those kind of habits, reading out my daily affirmations, you know, kind of doing the things that built. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that oftentimes small things that I want to do, or that I want to have done by a certain point, kind of go by the wayside, and they kind of exist in this background noise of anxiety that I feel, where it's like, you should have done this, or you should have been doing that, or you could have used that time to do this, when in reality I was just lying in bed, not doing anything. But yeah, like that just is what it is, you know. All you have is the now. That's what I tell myself, you know. It doesn't matter if you wasted a day not doing anything, you know. If you feel good today, do something. If you don't, try and feel better, you know. So I mean, I spent some time chilling in the sun, writing those lists, which was calm. I watched some Bojack Horseman, which I've been really enjoying recently. I've been re-watching because it's one of my favourite shows. Jeez, that's unprofessional. Yeah, so I've been enjoying that. And what else have I been up to? The fact that I struggle to mention anything says it all, you know. I watched a football game, but I hesitate to get into that because I don't really feel like the Decompression Chamber is a place to discuss sports unless it's MMA. Because well, actually, I lie. I guarantee you, when the World Cup comes up, that's gonna be a thing. But because that will affect me. But MMA, I feel like is the main sport that actually affects me emotionally. Yeah, that's a tough one as of late. But again, those are other circumstances that can lead me to feel, you know, start to feel a bit less stable. Is when I stay up late for the fights, and then the next day it's a Sunday, I'm just trying to recover, and by Monday I'm not fully there, you know. And I guess I really like in my head the idea of a clean slate, a fresh start, all of that stuff, you know. When spring started, I had it in my head that it's spring season, you know. It's new beginnings, it's possibility, and to a certain extent that's true, but it doesn't have to be spring. It can be today, you know. It can be tomorrow. It can be yesterday. It just depends on the circumstance and how you approach it, I guess. I mean, I remember seeing a motivational video, and it did, like, reach to me quite profoundly, but I don't do my best at kind of following the ethos of the video. And the person said, if you're dedicated to something, if you're dedicated to like meeting a target or to doing something, why don't you start now? Why don't you start today? You know, because I'm a procrastinator at heart. That's just who I am. In certain circumstances, and so oftentimes I tell myself that it's like if this was important to me, I have to start now. You know. But then again, sometimes I put obstacles in my own way. Maybe I don't put obstacles in my own way. Maybe I just the path to my goals isn't always as it's not as smoothly paved as I thought or allowed myself to believe. And so yeah, I mean, truthfully, when you're tired, it feels like it rises above like the more kind of deeper emotions or whatever. It just kind of like, so when I see how you're doing, it's just like, oh, I'm tired, you know. But recently I have been feeling just a little bit down, you know. Not like I feel like I haven't been in trouble much by my anxiety, but it's just been little ups and downs. Like today I was just kind of like, I was flicking through some videos that a friend took, shout out, of the gig, and I was like, you know, I'm in the videos, I'm having a good time, I'm like, hey, look, I'm happy with how I look in a video. Like, that's not always the case, but then later in the day I was just like, just feeling bad about myself, and there was no particular reason, it's just sometimes I feel that way, you know. And when I spoke to the counsellor at my college, I asked her, I said, like, if my goal was like to feel completely whole and good and happy about myself as a person and feel valid internally just on my own 2 feet, what are the steps that I take towards that? And she said very candidly, if this was a simple question, if there was a simple roadmap for everybody, then I'd be out of a job, you know. But she spoke to me about this internal dialogue, you know, the self-doubt, the kind of the voice of doubt that always creeps in for people like me, maybe even for people like you. That voice that tells you that you're not good enough to do something, or that you know, that you're ugly, or that people don't love you, or that people secretly think this about you, or that this small flaw that you think everybody else points out and kind of sticks in their head. That self-doubt voice, you can never silence, you know. You can never get rid of it completely. At least that's what she was telling me. She said you have to learn to dance with the voice. You have to accept its presence. And while you hold it tight, you don't hold it too tight. You just kind of like place your hand on it and move with it, you know. You allow it to move, and then you just move around it. You dance with it. You make something out of that. You know, it doesn't have to be an unrelenting force meets a unmovable object where you just have some sort of chaos or some sort of struggle and friction. Maybe there's an interplay. Maybe there's some sort of fluidity, some sort of like interplay there that can create something new. You know, and I know that affects the way that I treat others, because I feel these things, because I at times have this internal dialogue of doubt. I try my best to silence that doubt in others. You know, I try now more than I did when I was younger to tell people how much I care about them in my life. You know, how important my relationships are, and how much I value people, and the things that I admire about them, and you know, all of that stuff. It's important to me. You know, I think if you're looking at someone like I do at myself, in the perspective of identity, you know, at the very core of identity is our beliefs and our values. What do we value? What's important to us? What do we believe in? Or like what defines us? In my opinion, is our choices and our actions. And a lot of the time, you act on what you believe. For me, the most important core beliefs really is being a good brother, being a good son, and being a good friend. Like, not much else comes before that. And those are complicated. Like that spans a lot of different things, and you know, that is difficult at times to deal with. If I don't feel like I'm being a good friend, it makes me feel horrible about who I am, about myself. You know, if I don't feel like I've been a good brother or a good son, or a good any of those, you know, it's difficult. And then I have to loop myself right back around to the good place quote that I always bring up. That it's not necessarily just about doing good things or doing bad things and the outcomes exactly matching like your morality, but it's more about trying to improve, isn't it? I mean, I've been thinking a lot recently, like the last year, 2 years, about my relationship with my brothers, because I kind of took their presence for granted for most of my life. No, most is a bit of an exaggeration, but like at least half of it, you know. Because I've got 2 brothers whom I love dearly. Growing up, there's 3 boys close in age. There was often a lot of conflict between us, you know, and it was silly stuff because we grew up in like a very loving and caring and sheltered, like privileged background. Like a lot of stuff was so good for us, but we were existing in that space together, and sometimes that you're at different ages, you're at different stages of life, and it's hard to understand one another. It's hard to even understand what's going on with yourself. I don't know. But yeah, I oftentimes I took in like an antagonistic position towards my brothers. Like my older brother, I'd see him as like some sort of like oppressive force towards me. My younger brother is some sort of annoying yapping thing in my ear, you know. Whereas now it's like they're so important to me. They're like, and not only are they so important to me, and I recognize that, but many of the best experiences I've had in the last couple years have been with my brothers. You know, and that doesn't even have to be something crazy like a holiday to a different country or like a massive event. Sometimes it's just us 3 playing cards late at night just with each other, or like, you know, watching something stupid and having a laugh about it, or like, you know, sharing memes and just kind of like cracking banter. Like that in itself is like in that situation it makes me think about how much can change, you know. A relationship where most of my life it was like this, and then it was more like this, where we come together, and it's, I hate to say it, but like I think it got better once my older brother moved out of our house, and then that, like, the whole thing of the absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think having him not be home made me realize how much I liked it when he was, you know. I think it gave more space between me and my younger brother, and I think just as a general thing, when you get older, you're kind of proportionally closer in age. When it's like 12, 14, 16, you're all kind of in different stages of life, and it's a little bit strange. Whereas like now it's like 19, 20, 22. I'm gonna be 21 soon. But that you're all kind of a bit more in similar stages of life, at least. And the maturity helps naturally. But like, honestly, like there's so many good things I could say about my brothers, but I'd say the most important thing to me about them is that like they do like truly understand and appreciate me, and I them, and obviously that's how family should be. But I don't know. I think for a long time I didn't feel like they understood me individually, and I don't think I did a good enough job of trying to understand them. But now it's like that, you know, and it's very valuable to me. You know, I mean, one of the ways I kind of identify myself, or one of the things that I hold true to myself, is I often feel like I carry that middle sibling energy, you know. But that in of itself is steeped in the context of having those brothers, you know, having those people in my life. And I think that it's particularly poignant that in Spanish surname nomenclature, the only people who you share a surname with are your siblings, like the exact surname. Because you get one surname from your dad and one surname from your mum, and then you get two surnames, you know. So the only other Lobo Garcias in the world, other than myself, my older brother Pedro and my younger brother Diego. And honestly, I'm the luckiest. I'm the luckiest brother. Well, we all are, but I feel extraordinarily lucky to have them. Who knows if they'll even watch this? They get all the niceties for free. Nah, I joke. I'm actually gonna. Well, the thing is, one thing that I'm kind of glad is that I made a group chat with them on Instagram just to share memes, and that increased how much we interact with each other throughout the year by like tenfold. So I feel quite proud of that. I got the idea from a friend, shout out Theo, who did the same with my friends from back at Bristol, where I guess sometimes, because so much has gone on in our lives, there's so many people that you could possibly speak to. Reaching out to somebody and touching base and seeing how they're doing it doesn't always come easy to me. But something like a meme, I guess, it's just like you see something funny, you send it to them, and like you don't need a huge response, but it's just like it's a way to relate. It's a way to kind of have a shared experience, even when you're not directly with each other, you know. So I guess if there's a final message to this video, which I often do like to have, I would say appreciate your family, not especially your siblings, but maybe take a moment to think about how your relationships with any siblings that you have has developed, and what you might attribute that to, and maybe that some sort of hope for the future that things can get even better, or if they're not great, they can get better, you know. Because at the end of the day, you hope that we'll be here for a long enough time for that to happen. So yeah, lots of love, and whatever. See you later. Peace.
Packet of fags, get too off topic when topping the legs. It's a shame that I failed my bag, failed my mama, my papa, my grands. I'm trying to get back in the game, and it's packing. I'm packing the stack on my own, cause the dash like I'm Gambit. I might speak some French on your ass. Cause I twang one step back. The meat in my steamer is broke. For the oblique turn peak of the soul. Peace never know what's about to occur, but my zen getting rolled at a turn of your words. Run at the meat and my steamer is broke. For the oblique turn peak of the soul. Peace never know what's about to occur, but my zen getting rolled at a turn of your words.
Witches in my head, wishing that we could waste well. Whisk up the eggplant pie and even salad dragon. Whole country can't rest on a wing since then. Never sing